Hello and welcome back to the Conversationist podcast. I'm Charlie Pitson and with me are my flatmates
Joshy boy.
Anson.
and
I'm not going to say fucking Joshy boy, am I?
yeah, it's fair enough. So we're going to do Iron Man because we've been holed up in this apartment, flat, whatever you want to call it.
For a million years.
For a million years, yeah. So we've just been watching all the films. So we're going to start with numero uno.
Fun fact, this is a prequel to Iron Man 2.
Right, Iron Man. We didn't want to talk of that intro because it's too intense. So, yeah, what do you make of this?
What do I make of Iron Man?
What do you make of Iron Man? Not as a character, as a film.
It's a great film. I think it's the perfect way to start off the MCU. Really,
It's the only way to start the MCU.
it was yeah, but they could have gone with a lot of characters. They could have started off with Captain America. They didn't.
Yeah.
They decided to go with Iron Man.
Iron Man wasn't even like a massive kind of deal at this point, though.
No, he wasn't. But that's what makes it so good.
Like now, he's kind of like the A-list fucking Marvel character.
Yeah, but it's because of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, just because of Robert Downey Jr.
is the perfect casting. I don't think there's ever been a more perfect casting in any film ever than
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
I wouldn't say he's on the same level as Tony Stark, though.
Oh, that's mean.
It's because like, what film did we watch the other day? It was Zodiac, wasn't it? And he had the same
Yeah.
beard. And it came out, a year before this?
Mm-hmm.
But he had the exact same kind of shape to his beard as well, which I thought maybe that's when they were filming it, or
And they were like, well, we saw him in Zodiac. We think he could be Tony Stark.
maybe that was his audition, I guess. Like, how prepared are you to do the Tony Stark? I was like, I'll wear the beard in a different film. Give me money now.
But I will stand by the idea as well that he has the most character development out of all of the characters in the MCU by a distance.
That's probably because he's been in more films.
I mean, it's because he's been in more films, but even more so than like Captain America and shit.
Yeah.
Because Captain America is like the most stubborn person in the world. He never changes his ways, whereas Tony Stark has to change from being.
He changes in a different kind of way, though, doesn't he? You know, like Tony Stark changes in the way he becomes selfless. Cap is the opposite way round. He is selfless, and then he learns, to kind of live his life a little.
I wouldn't say Captain America's selfless. I wouldn't say that.
Ding, ding, ding! I feel a debate coming on. Honestly, what do you reckon?
That.
Do you think Captain America is selfless, or do you think?
I think.
Or even
he lets his own.
This is up until just after Civil War, because that's where we are right now on the.
Wait, we haven't seen Civil War yet?
No, we watched Civil War the other day.
Shit.
That's kind of the big one. That's what we're trying to get at. Is that
Yeah, no. I'll be totally honest with you guys. I missed that one.
What was that the last one we watched on that night?
I don't know.
Yes,
that was one. That was one of the ones he fell asleep.
Because he missed Spider-Man.
Yeah, he missed Spider-Man last night. Yeah.
Because he said.
No, I missed Spider-Man, the other film as well.
That's what I mean. He missed Spider-Man's introduction.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, he did say. Yeah. So basically, you must have saw a bit of it where Black Panther's dad gets blown up.
Yeah,
or
I seen that.
Kind of he gets killed.
I think what I seen up to was Black Panther taking his mask off for no reason.
Oh, when the chase. Oh shit, that's
an intimidation tactic.
That's not even halfway through the film.
True.
Yeah. But I mean, up until that point, do you think the Cap's pretty selfless?
No, because I can't. I feel like I'm completely mixed up about which side was which with Iron Man and Captain America.
So Iron Man wanted to kind of.
Iron Man wanted to make the Avengers part of the global government.
Yeah, the Sokovia Accord, so they can be government used, control. Yeah,
they can be used by the government, so they're contained and they don't cause as much damage and stuff like that.
And then Cap was obviously the opposite against that.
Cap was like, "Oh, herder, I want to do my own thing because protection should be privatized."
It should be.
Is essentially the idea.
Yeah, so I'm guessing your team Iron Man. Then.
He wanted to stay a private organization, so that that's essentially what it is. I mean, he makes it sound a lot more patriotic than what it actually is. And what it actually is we want to privatize the most powerful force on the earth.
Yeah, basically you can
and
just
not
go willy-nilly, just kind of punching fools and stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it makes it sound a lot more glossy, and I guess it's also the whole thing about Bucky as well, is that they kind of had to put the other 5 super soldier thing whole storyline into his story to make it seem like he wasn't being selfish and that it was to do so with something like, because that whole thing takes a real back burner, and essentially what it is him trying to save Bucky.
Yeah.
But he seems to care more about saving Bucky than he does about the lives of other people, because Bucky at that point
in that turn is pretty selfish then.
Yeah, and it's like
Ooh.
and so that's what I mean by him. I mean, as much as obviously Bucky is at that point he needs to be helped, and he should probably be helped. He is also still very dangerous because like Baron Zemo did. He literally just mind controlled him and got him to kick everyone's asses just like that. So he was still in a very sensitive place at that point.
So, I think I'd see
fucking nailed it. Fair play. Yeah. All right. Okay. So Cap isn't totally selfless then.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Captain America's heart is in the right place. I just think I think his character, especially in stuff like Civil War, you kind of see how much he thinks it's all about him and like.
But can you see what I mean? Like, as in Tony Stark's kind of like character, he learns to become like less selfish.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He ends up like saving the world.
Yeah,
a fuck ton of times.
Because at this point, I mean, up until he comes out of the cave,
or
he gets kidnapped, he's the biggest arms dealer in the world. Like he only works for himself. He wants to, he's got this massive flashy house and all these flashy cars and stuff. Yeah, he's a very materialistic guy. So yeah, he definitely.
And towards the end, he's like a family man who like saves the earth.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. There's such a difference between his character at the beginning and his character at the end.
But he keeps retiring like almost in every film from like from Iron Man 3 onwards. He's like, I'm retiring. You're like,
Iron Man 3.
I'll see you in the next one, pal.
Iron Man 3 was like that was the time where he like.
I mean, that was a fair one. I mean, after it'd been like after Avengers, he probably felt like. But then there was a little bit of him. It's like there's something bigger out there.
Yeah.
And then.
But see, that was my other thing as well. Is I feel like he's the only person who ever really gets affected. Like he gets affected the most by all of the New York stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's the one who went into space, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And I've also, every time there's been a global catastrophe, who's the one person who finishes it off? It's always Iron Man.
Yeah,
he did it with the New York stuff where he got the nuclear bomb, or he got the. I
mean, Vision finished off Ultron though.
Vision did finish off Ultron, but Iron Man was the one who snapped his fingers.
Guys, can we stop with the spoilers?
Yeah, you got to stop with spoilers. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no end game talk in this one. We can only speak to as far as we are at on our marathon.
Right.
While Anson's here, which is fine because we're talking about Iron Man 1 anyway, so there's no need to talk about future films. So. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah,
this is like,
Josh, you got told.
Yeah,
God's sake. But yeah, I've always felt like he has the best character development because he is such a dick in the beginning.
Yeah,
it's like Captain America is almost too perfect the whole time, which is why I don't really empathize with him as a character, because he's too perfect. His character never changes because he's always going to be the righteous Captain America. Patriotic war hero kind of
I can
thing.
do this whole day kind of
I
thing.
can do this.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah, we know.
You're like, dude, shut up.
Fair enough. I think Josh mentioned when we watched this like the other day was the fact that when he's flying for the first time and he gets the icing thing.
Oh yeah.
Or they say that perhaps if you intend to visit other planets, you should upgrade the ecosystems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think that was like intentional?
Yeah, definitely.
Or do you think it was like?
Definitely
a nod.
Like, it's just like they planted it in there as like like not like an Easter egg, but just like just in case they do a sequel.
Do you know what though? I think it's especially as well because like a lot of Iron Man's later like stories, especially in the comics, a lot of them are to do with going out to outer space and shit.
Yeah.
He becomes a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy for a while in the comics, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not for particularly long, but like while he's there, it's pretty crazy. And I guess
he goes to space in Infinity War, and that was pretty cool though.
Oh, very cool.
But it didn't get to a point where he could like fly around in his suit though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, imagine that. Imagine being able to fly around in the Iron Man suit but go into space. I'm not that familiar with the comics as like I want it to be, but
I think he does.
I don't know if do they do anything.
I think he does have that ability. Like I said, when he's with the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm pretty sure that's what. I can't remember the name of the suit though. There's a specific name for the suit that he uses as like he has some crazy suits in the comics.
This isn't the start of the MCU. It's Hulk.
No one counts the the Ang Lee Hulk film. That's not MCU. I don't think it's done by Marvel Studios. I think it was just done by.
I don't think I've ever seen that
It was
film.
just a Universal
I
film.
don't
You haven't
wanna
seen
see
it?
No,
Yeah,
I haven't
you
seen
Really?
that one,
Oh
no.
my god, it's not good.
I'm
You
not.
watched it
No,
They got Hulk dogs and everything. It's like weird.
no, that
Hulk
wasn't the
dogs or
first
some shit.
film. That was the second film.
Which
The
one?
one with,
The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton's the second one.
Oh.
This came out first. This came out like I think it was like May or something. April or May, 2008.
Yeah. Oh my god, this is 12 years old. It's crazy that it's come this far in 12 years though, isn't it? Like it feels like it's been so long, but 12 years really isn't that long
Yeah.
for this all to just flesh out. Because like this was just a dream at this point, wasn't it? Releasing Iron Man, then expecting it to like
Yeah, I mean, so comic book films really weren't that good
yeah.
for this. I mean,
But
you
they-
had like exceptions like Batman from 1989, X-Men 1 and X2,
Spider-Man's did okay,
Blade
didn't he?
2. Blade 2 was fucking amazing, and then you had Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Batman Begins and Dark Knight probably. I don't count Spider-Man 3. It was awful. So it's quite fair. It's at least 10.
Yeah.
It's at least 10 films, like, but
It was a big
there's a lot. There's
statement
there's
to
a-
say this would become a larger thing.
This is
like,
possibly like, apart from obviously the Dark Knight at the time, I put the Dark Knight and then this is probably the best superhero film of the 2000s.
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to
The
think of
20
what-
and the 2010s. Then obviously,
I'm trying to think of what other films there are from 2000s.
you got the Fantastic Four films.
I'd say the second Spider-Man film was up there.
Second Spider-Man film, yeah. I mean, I think the first film was like the highest.
Yeah, which is really strange as well. 'Cause
superhero
the
film
second
in
one
box
was
office.
definitely better.
Because I remember they made a whole point about it in the Entourage with the season 2 when like Vince makes Aquaman and they end up beating Spider-Man 1's kind of box office peak. Like I think they were like number 1 for superhero films or something. I think or they got to 1 billion first. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, this film did pretty well. I mean, I think it made about 585.3 million.
How long after the third Spider-Man did this come out?
A year after.
Damn.
Yeah. And
Makes
then
you
Incredible
think,
Hulk was the
though,
same
doesn't
year
it?
as well
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Makes you think though, doesn't it? Like, I mean, I know there's not much to CGI in this film, but
Yeah.
considering how awful some of the shots in Spider-Man looked, Spider-Man 3, and then how awful some of the stuff in Incredible Hulk looked, this was really good.
To be fair, Incredible Hulk was
Dreadful.
dreadful, yeah.
Dreadful.
Yeah, it did suck.
It looked like, have you seen the it's not a spoiler, but there's when they put Endgame back into the cinemas, like they re-released it for like a few weeks.
Yeah.
They put in like extra stuff, and like one of the extra stuff was like this like unfinished CGI scene of the Hulk saving kids from a burning building, and like if you've seen that footage, we'll watch it. It's on the DVD. It looks like kind of like an old PS2 game.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
it's
but I can already picture
It's
it in my
incredible
head.
Hulk footage. Yeah, but Incredible Hulk isn't far off what that actually looks like, but it's just dull and grey, innit?
It was just everything was
Abomination was just didn't have. It was like watching a DC villain.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like grey color.
And you know, yeah, I said that when we were watching it as well. One of the crazy things I noticed was that Abomination in that film looked a bit like Doomsday
it
did in
just
Batman vs Superman.
looks
and-
like clay, really. Innit?
And the fact that one of them came out like 8 years afterwards,
yeah, it says a
and
lot about
still
fucking DC.
looked just as bad, just says a lot about the DC extended universe films.
Oh yeah, I saw a post on that the other day on Facebook.
Can I say something that I might have already missed?
What?
Go on.
Why has he got that thing put in him?
It's to it's almost like a magnet.
Yeah, but he was like kidnapped and they did it.
He was kidnapped,
Jensen
but the
then, like saved him and then put
no,
that in
the-
his chest, wasn't it?
the stuff in his chest came from the bomb that knocked him over.
Oh, and they just happened to have one of these lying around. They put in him.
No, Jensen made it.
Jensen made it to made a battery to keep it out of his chest, to keep the
Like a magnet to stop the shrapnel
stop
from
the shrapnel from
entering
going
his
any
heart.
further. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Because if it entered his heart, he would, slice it up and
Yeah.
he'd die.
but the reason that he manages to make the arc reactor is because because they're giving him all of the materials that he needs, all of the materials are Stark Industries materials,
okay.
so he knows what he's doing.
It's just a coincidence, really, isn't it?
It makes sense, though, doesn't it? Like, he's the biggest arms dealer in the world at this point. Like, you know, everyone's got Stark Industries stuff.
Yeah.
It's a goddamn arms race.
So I found some trivia stuff, right, on this film, and I just thought this one was quite funny. So this is apparently Jeff Bridges said that he felt uncomfortable not having a script or rehearsals, since normally he's very prepared and knows his lines word for word, and then he realised it was just a $200 million student film, took the pressure off them and made it fun. He referred to it as a $200 million student film.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know why that's just the
Wait,
funniest thing.
So he didn't.
So he felt like a lot. He felt like really under pressure because he's normally like prepared and he knows the script, but he didn't. Apparently, he claims. Yeah, I don't know if he's saying he claims, but he says he claims he didn't have a script or they didn't rehearse any scenes. They just kind of fucking went.
They just went for it.
He said obviously realized that it was actually just a $200 million student film.
Jesus.
Because a lot of student films, you've worked on. Student films and other films, like, do they really know their lines, or do they kind of like rehearse beforehand? Like, because I can't imagine a lot of student films they rehearse because they only just kind of rush them.
Student films don't fucking rehearse. It does my head in. Most people rehearse, but then you do get dickheads that don't rehearse, and it's just doesn't make sense.
And it's not just like blocking rehearsal. I mean, just like script.
Huh?
Just learning the words, basically.
Well, I don't know what people do in their own time, but
I don't know. I would find it very uncomfortable if I was like directing and no one knew their fucking lines. If it depended on what kind of film it was. If it was like something that I prefer to be like improvised, then fucking by all means go off the script. You know what I mean? But at least know where you're going, innit?
It's great because he has some of the best lines in the film.
He does some great lines as well.
Tony Stark managed to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. I'm not Tony Stark.
He's one of the best characters, like villains for me. I just love him.
Oh yeah, he's great.
But it's a shame that he doesn't get to come back. I mean, there's no fucking way he can come back unless they start doing like some sort of Marvel zombies.
Yeah,
which would be interesting.
Well, apparently there was an idea for the final fight in Endgame. Was that
you can't say any spoilers?
Well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because it was just a theory.
Go on.
That was what happened. Was that Thanos was going to bring back all of the villains that they defeated in the past, and they were going to fight.
Oh
against
yeah, I
them.
remember that. Yeah. That was like a zombie thing,
and that would have been pretty cool.
That could be done on what?
That's Dragon Ball Z as fuck.
It is Dragon Ball Z as fuck. It's great, but like
they could do that on the What If show.
Yeah,
I think they are doing a zombie thing on the What If show.
They are. I saw that. It was Captain America, wasn't it?
Yeah. Captain America. Yeah, because they did. They did one kind of like quick thing in Far From Home.
Oh yeah.
But
I remember. Yeah.
Oh, what is What If show?
What If it's a show that they're developing for Sony Plus. Sony Plus, fucking
Sony
Disney
Plus. Jesus.
They're developing.
Christ,
sorry, Mickey Mouse. For Disney Plus. And it's animated. It's more of like kind of what if scenarios. Like what if Peggy Carter became Captain America?
Oh, okay.
Or what if zombies?
Wasn't there one? There's what they're doing. One that's Steve Rogers becoming Iron Man.
Yeah, it's shit like that. Yeah. There's loads. I think it's like there's like
he's in a massive suit.
Hawkeye was a Hulk, and you could use his bow and arrow, but it's a fucking giant bow and arrow. Shit like that. There's endless like options.
Fair.
What if Natasha Romanoff was Iron Man and also the Hulk? So she had to be in the Hulkbuster because she was too big.
I don't want to hear any of this. There's a micrometer. I know what a micrometer is. Shout out to micrometers.
That's a big paperclip.
Bro, that was a fucking fire. Like,
apparently, Paul Bettany recorded all of his lines as Jarvis in 2 hours.
Who's Paul Bettany?
The guy who plays Jarvis.
Plays Jarvis and Vision.
And Vision.
He says he's never seen the film and is unfamiliar with the plot. He says Jarvis was the easiest job ever, and it almost was like a robbery since he only worked for 2 hours, got paid a lot of money, then went on vacation with his wife Jennifer Connelly, who would later voice the AI in Spider-Man Homecoming. What's her name? Karen, yeah.
Nice.
And then obviously he was physically in it from Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Later on as Vision. That's hilarious, though. Imagine working for 2 hours, getting paid a shit ton of money just to do some.
Well, I mean, it probably
Story of
would
my
be
life.
quite quick, though, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Just because he doesn't really have to put any emotion into anything that Jarvis says.
Because Jarvis is kind of just like
It's
monotone.
literally maybe a tiny bit of sarcasm here and there, but
Yeah.
like
How many
2
lines does he have
hours?
for the whole film?
How many lines?
quite a few.
I
He's
don't-
in
yeah,
quite a
he
lot.
might-
Wait, in
of
this
them.
one?
Probably, yeah. He's
Well, he's the person who Tony speaks to
This
for
is
like.
it.
Yeah, I
He's
know,
AI,
but how
yeah.
far
40
in do we
minutes
know?
of film.
probably about
Half an hour.
half hour. Yeah,
Well, for half hour in, he hasn't said a word yet. Do you know what I mean?
he has said a word. Jarvis has been in like when they do the intro when they're in the cargo trucks and then he gets blown up and then they do the title card and they did like kind of like 36 hours before.
I didn't know.
And it leads up to this, and obviously he's talking with him then.
Yeah.
Not as much though. I think it's only when he starts like becoming like building the Iron Man
Yeah.
suit. That's when he kind of like
But
he's in most of the
He
fucking scenes with
spends.
him.
Yeah, I was gonna say he spends a lot of the film in the basement building the other Iron Man suits. So
Yeah.
the only person he really interacts with
Is
for like
Jarvis,
40
yeah.
minute, 45
But
minutes. is
2
Jarvis.
hours though, that's mental.
Yeah,
How
I
much do you
know.
reckon you got paid for it? Like
20 quid.
Fish and chips,
a can of Vimto.
cheesy chips with
With
gravy
gravy, yeah.
from
Oh.
Oasis.
Funds, yeah. By the time it gets to him, it's like freezing cold. It's like it's fine though. It's like the hangover the next morning, nice cold cheesy chips and gravy, curdled.
2 hours worth of work and
2 hours
worth
of work.
every penny.
Every penny. I'd voice Jarvis for entire film for a can of Coke probably.
Oh, I'd do it.
Yeah, not 60 quid. You'd be in Iron Man.
Mr.
Dude.
Stark.
So like, I don't know. You might know this. I'll just do this one trivia thing because I didn't know this at all. And I'm surprised. I just didn't know this, and it actually makes so much sense now. So apparently, Stan Lee, who actually created Iron Man as well, because he created every
yes.
fucking superhero.
Yeah.
Had originally based Tony Stark on Howard Hughes, who he felt was one of the most colourful men of his time, an inventor, an adventurer, a multimillionaire, a ladies' man, and finally a nutcase.
Yeah.
And
I
he said
see
Robert
that.
Downey Jr. further
think I've heard
describes
that
the
one
portrayal of
before as well.
Stark as a challenge of making a wealthy establishmentarian, weapons manufacturing, hard drinking, womanizing prick into a character who was likable and a hero. And I mean, they do that by the end, don't they? You know,
I don't think it would have worked if it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. as well.
you reckon? You
No, I don't.
you couldn't imagine anyone else.
Who
doing
was
this.
it? Who was originally going to be Tony Stark?
Oh, I don't know, like Jake Gyllenhaal probably,
No, it was Was it Brad Pitt?
or Chris Farley? No, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise,
it was,
yeah.
yeah. Tom Cruise, and it's that I would have just been like, well,
Yeah, I never would have watched that.
yeah. That's
Well,
what I
Tom-
mean.
yeah,
Can
no.
you imagine Tom Cruise being?
I mean, he
being
wouldn't be
Tony
flying;
Stark
it'd just be
throughout?
him running around in the suit,
Yeah.
just running miles. Like,
Can you imagine? He's like, yeah, I still demand to do my own stunts. And I'm like, dude, you've got to fly. You can't fly. We're just going to green screen it. I do.
this
My
kind of
own
technology does
stunts.
not exist, Tom. And he's like, I have people. Did you guys ever play the video game
I had it on PSP.
on PSP? There was a PSP
Yeah,
version.
There was a
how
PSP
crap was
version.
that?
It was dreadful.
Did you ever play the? Is
It
it like
was the worst game I've played all the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
You finished it?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever finished anything on PSP.
It was fucking. It was awful. This game was I remember it. I remember
Yeah.
lots of like specific parts.
I remember the Xbox 360 version. I didn't have it, but I remember going into Game Station, and it'd be like it was one of the games you could play because obviously, like,
Yeah.
the film was fucking huge when it came out, and it was dreadful, man. Even at the time, I was just like, "There's nothing to do other than just fly about and shoot the same fucking things, like a car or a bird or, the police or something." I don't know
Yeah.
what you did, but it was dreadful.
I'll tell you what. A good Iron Man game actually is, right? Okay, it's a good Marvel game in general. It's a Lego Marvel superheroes. It's genuinely one of the best superhero games I've ever
Well,
played.
can you fly around in that as well? I've never played that one.
You could just fly around in New York, just doing random shit. It's great.
Oh shit! I need to play that.
You can fly up to the helicarrier because the helicarrier is
I
like
don't
just above New York.
I'm kind of looking forward to the Avengers game.
See, I saw that and I was like,
Have you seen that?
if it's too
Negative.
linear, I don't think I'll be able to play it.
Yeah, it has to be open world.
I-
Open world or nothing.
Did they say if it's going to be open world or not?
I don't think it is. It looks like it's going to be quite linear. I'm not sure. But then again, I don't know.
And apparently, I don't think it looks like Captain America's going to be in it as much as you think he's going to be in it. With
Yeah.
that, that was at a trailer thing with and he basically just dies.
Yeah, Ms. Marvel's quite.
Ms. Marvel, yeah.
is in it quite a lot, isn't she?
Rita
So-
Khan, yeah. That's interesting. I wonder
The
how they're going to do
stretchy one.
It's got the stretchy arms, yeah.
Yeah.
What's got the fucking fist? It looks fucking sick, dude. I want to be punching fucking fools with that. Like, fuck the Hulk. It's like Cock Knocker from Jay and Silent Bob, isn't it?
Dude, that incredible... Oh, what was it called? Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction game. Boy.
Would you enjoy it? Is that the one that was based on for the film as well?
I don't think it was. No, I think that's why it ended up being so good. I'm not sure
because they had like loads of Hulk games. They had like a Hulk game
be,
for the Ang Lee film back in the day, and that was it was a game that existed. That's all I'm saying. Do you ever play a game that's just so bad you just kind of like, how the hell does this get put out? You know,
I've played
Last
a
of
lot
Us.
of
The Last of Us.
Whoa!
Wait, what?
The gameplay sucked.
Shut up, Anson.
No, I'm not
Shut
fucking
up,
wrong.
bro.
Fucking tell me I'm not wrong.
He's trying to...
That is very controversial. I like it.
He's trying to be
It's a
controversial.
60
Let's not give
it's
him...
a
No,
60
no.
pound- It's a £60 film. That's all it is.
What's all right, fair enough. He's right.
No, he's not.
The gameplay is boring as
Gameplay's
fuck.
great.
And it's really
Gameplay's great, but
repetitive.
it is a 60
And it doesn't make
film.
any fucking sense why the clickers can't get you.
Because they can't hear you.
Mate, that's not how echolocation works. I swear to God.
But if you're not...
don't just like fly around and.
But see,
like,
no,
hit
but
buildings.
see, the point is that if you use echolocation and the echolocation maps out a space for you, for example, and something in that space is not moving, much like the rest of the spaces, they're less likely to go towards that space because you'd be able to tell through echolocation what's moving and what isn't.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you were to not move, that technically would work.
I
Because
swear to God, there's a thing where it sounds different because it's not hard surface. Do you know what I mean? So bats would know. I reckon the clickers would know. I think it's just Doomsday and they should have just been eaten.
I don't know. Anyway, I found the Incredible Hulk game. It wasn't, it wasn't a tie-in game. It came out in 2005.
2005. Show me.
Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction is what it was.
It's on
called.
GameCube.
It was on GameCube. It was also on PS2.
I never played. I never had any of those consoles. Well, I had the PS2, but like years.
But
it was on Xbox as well.
It had 83% on Metacritic.
I kind of recognized the cover, but it was probably one of those games that just came and went.
It was a good game, dude. It was a really
many
good
people probably didn't sell it.
It was open world.
I mean, come on.
And there were
it
was open world. There were like, I think there were two different maps. There was the one that was in the desert and the one that was in New York.
Yeah.
They were they weren't like massive maps, obviously, but they were like fairly sized.
Like the Spider-Man 2 game.
There was
like,
loads
that game
to
was
do.
incredible.
Yeah. But there was loads to do. Like you'd run up walls and stuff. Like jump off walls and fly and shit. It was great.
This is funny because this came out probably when comic book games just sucked. Really did suck. I mean, you had the odd exceptions. I haven't played that, so I can't really say much. But if you think that's on par with Spider-Man 2,
I'd say it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
like,
there was quite a lot of depth to it as well, because there was like upgrade systems and there was we have the upgrade trees where you can buy different abilities and stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
Like, so you had like that Spider-Man 2, and then you didn't get like Arkham Asylum till like a year after this came out.
Yeah,
and that was probably one of the first of the best like superhero games.
Yeah,
I know it's Batman, but
it had 8.4 on IGN.
Yeah, what's it called?
Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
Do you think Kevin Feige is like kind of gutted that he couldn't make some of the films that were announced, or like there was some things that he could have made?
I'm curious.
Didn't even get to.
Is there a definitive list of all the stuff that just didn't come about?
I think there is. I mean, you got the Inhumans film. I know that was supposed to be a thing, and then they made that TV show, which I haven't seen yet.
Apparently, it's dreadful though.
Is it out yet?
What, the TV show? Yes, on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, man.
But it's got the lowest rating.
It's got a very low rating on
any screen media that.
Well, I think that's a big mistake by reviewers. I think it's very great, and I haven't seen it yet.
They changed dates a lot. I remember Captain Marvel was supposed to come out in like 2018, so obviously things were pushed back as well. Mm. Not due to the coronavirus, though. like Black Widow will be.
Not like Black Widow.
What was there was going to be another film coming out this summer, or I think it was the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show was going to come out in August.
I mean, I'd kind of be interested to watch that.
Yeah, I'm interested because Sharon Carter's back, Helmut Zero is going to be back, and Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, is playing U.S. Agent.
Yeah. Okay.
Who'll probably be like he's an anti-hero, but he'll probably be like kind of like a secondary villain of sorts. You know, like the maybe Baron Zemo's got to use against them. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you can do some sort of hypnotizing kind of thing, but we'll see what happens when it comes out. But I'm looking forward to that. And
Yeah.
WandaVision's going to be good. Pretty much. I'm excited for
WandaVision.
all the kind of upcoming films as well. There's loads, man. You know, fucking Blade.
Jesus,
Ursula Harley.
Yeah, it's Mahershala Ali as well. Oh my god,
That's gonna be insane. Yeah.
Perfect casting. Like,
And the Loki TV show, the head writer from the Loki TV show is now taking over for Doctor Strange.
all right.
I think he's writing Doctor Strange, and then obviously I think they've got Sam Raimi coming in to do be the director, which should be quite interesting because he's always been kind of a fan of Doctor Strange. So we were watching that yesterday, and it just kind of screams like Sam Raimi to me.
Yeah,
just this kind of insane, you know,
unexplainable stuff happening on screen.
Yeah.
You're watching it, and you're like,
I mean, Scott
Derrickson
Derrickson did really well, and like I'm kind of gutted he's gone because he's such a great kind of like modern horror director.
Yeah,
Like I really enjoyed Sinister.
Sinister
He
was
directed
great.
Sinister.
I
I
like Sinister.
I liked it more than I like it more now than I did when I saw it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite horror films. I think.
It's really great non-horror, you know, because it can't get on par. Like I grew up watching all the old horror films, so it's like kind of like a, you know, like just
it's
Freddy Krueger and all those
you
movies,
struggle to appreciate stuff like
The Thing was kind of like the horror film of my house.
Yeah.
My dad
The Thing was a good film. Yeah.
Like,
but it's because I feel the same way as like I struggle to watch stuff like not so much the first Paranormal Activity because that was really good, but you know anything after that it was kind of just
I think it's just like modern horrors are either just like kind of reboots or remakes.
Conjuring's awful. The Conjuring films are just not that great.
I'm not a big fan of it. It's the supernatural horrors that just kind of like dull me out. You know, I just don't do it. But Scott Derrickson would definitely have nailed like a kind of horror like genre to, you know, Doctor Strange 2. Because if it's going to be going on the multiverses, think how dark they could get, you know.
Yeah, it could be pretty crazy.
They could spend a lot of time in the nightmare realm, and that'd be fucking sick. But
I wonder what other characters are going to appear in Doctor Strange.
They said Wanda.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not sure if Rachel McAdams is coming back. Baron Mordo's going to be coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he has to be the
he has
villain,
to be kind of the villain, yeah. Or at least kind of like the secondary villain. Like, hopefully onto a Spider-Man 3 situation though.
I want to have about 20 villains.
Yeah. I'm going to do rotten reviews. So we got director Jon Favreau tries to enliven the story with comic elements, but the plot trudges along a well-trodden path to a weary conclusion.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you think the plot trudges though? Like a lot.
I wouldn't say it
along a
trudges
well-trodden
though.
path
It kind of skips.
where
I think
conclusion.
it kind of skips along the path.
I think the pacing is just like boom, 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 boom. Do you know what I mean? Like they knew what they were cutting out. They cut out all the fat, but they cut out a bit too much.
I think there's also
I think
there's
not enough time for it to slow down. It's just constantly getting through the story. It's trying to like just get it over with before it's only just started. You know?
Yeah, it's also because a lot needs to happen. Like for it to be a full film.
It's just that it's just there's no time for rest. It's just like almost 2 hours just kind of just smashing through it.
Like a Safdie Brothers film.
It's like a Safdie Brothers film, but like that there is like purposefully
stress.
yeah. Anxiety,
constant gut wrenching anxiety that just makes you melt from the inside. Like probably not.
So
bad.
Get the Safdie Brothers on a
Iron Man film.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. So we got another one, and it's why did Iron Man seem so slight to me when I watched it on my computer? Quite possibly these event pictures need a huge screen and a pounding sound system to convince viewers of their worth.
What?
Sorry, what?
No, they basically said
That's what mentioned
she watched it on a computer, and she said it just didn't look good enough. She thinks it basically needs to be on a huge screen with like a proper sound system to really get the worth of these films.
But did she leave a bad review because she didn't watch it in the cinema?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Okay.
It reminds me of all the people who complained about how dark it was in that Game of Thrones episode.
I was just about to say Game of Thrones.
And it was like all the people complaining and it was too dark, and because it was so pixelated, you couldn't see anything. It's like, well, don't watch it illegally then.
Yeah, true. I mean, I watched it. I watched it like properly. Best quality I could find.
I watched it on Sky.
And honestly, it was dark, but
yeah,
the backlight on this TV is quite strong. So it's like, okay, but it did seem a bit too bright then. It was a bit too dark.
To be fair,
but
I think because I watched,
it works because it's quite like a. I don't know. I think
because I didn't because
it's
like
a tough
I said,
one.
I watched it on Sky, so I like I was seeing it in proper.
Yeah.
Like,
did we watch that one together, or was that not? No, we only watched the finale.
yeah, actually, because you came round to my house to watch Game of Thrones.
We watched
some of the episodes. But I don't remember if you were there for that episode. I remember there were a lot of people.
It was very dark, but I think it suited the kind of style they were going for. That
yeah,
horror
of course, it was bleak and it was meant to be dark. But I think the problem is when you watch that kind of thing over, on a stream and it's not high quality.
Yeah.
Then you won't see anything, and
it's like buying DVDs and then putting it on a 4K TV.
But it's no fault of the movie makers that they didn't account for the people who were stealing them. It's not their fault for not.
I think it's what the cinematographer said. He blamed for pirating, and that's why you're not going to see the true kind of art of
films anymore. Because people pirate shit.
He went on a bit of a rant, which didn't do well in his favour. But I can see where he was coming across. Like, it's kind of like the Scorsese thing. He just didn't know how to word what he was saying right. But if you can look past it, you know where he's coming from. I think apart from his kind of his response, it's a fair.
I get it though. I do because if you do watch,
because he kind of claims that basically saying like, oh, you should all have amazing TVs. So why haven't you got these amazing? Why are you watching this TV show if you haven't got a good TV?
Yeah, I think in that I think it go once you get too far on on that side, that's the kind of realm that you get to is like, oh well, you just don't notice it because you have crap TV. Like
do you think that applies?
That's crazy.
Do you think that applies to these kind of Marvel films?
Oh no, because I think if you watch it in standard definition, it's perfectly fine to watch.
What do you think?
It makes sense.
Do you think you need kind of the best possible way of viewing these films, like a cinema, to follow just enjoy them? Do you think it's important, or do you think you could watch this on the smallest possible screen, like your phone,
depends,
and really enjoy it?
If I wouldn't watch Uncut Gems for the first time in the house because I went to see it in the cinema and oh my fucking god. Whereas I watched it again at home and it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's it depends on the film or whatever, I guess.
But could you sit down and watch Endgame, 3 hours of Endgame on your phone in your bed?
No, but I don't like watching things on laptops, to be honest.
I think
I'd like to point out it was actually only a couple of weeks ago that I watched this film on my phone.
You watched it on your phone?
I watched this film on my phone because I was using Sky Go and I was like, fuck it, I'll just start the MCU because remember I said I started the MCU before you came back. I got back.
Just want to jump in here, Sky, give us a sponsorship. Carry on.
Yeah, carry on. Exactly.
As you were, LG.
But if you watch it in the quality that isn't from pirated websites or stealing, then it looks good. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch pirated stuff because a lot of things that do cost a lot of money, and I understand.
Or you can't find, I guess.
Yeah, and I understand why people do it. But at the same time, you can't expect something to be of a higher quality if you are going to get it for free from a streaming website.
Yeah.
You kind of have to.
It's like stealing a sandwich from Tesco and not liking it and going back and saying this sandwich I stole is shit.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Let's get on to a new one. Hoping to blend comic book superhero thrills with the relevance of the real war-torn world, Iron Man, directed by Jon Favreau, fails at both endeavours.
Well, I suppose if they're going at it looking at like this fucking artsy-ass fucking cinema and, but I mean...
I think they're saying that both themes that they're going for, like the superhero and the war kind of torn world, this is still Bush's, or coming off the end of Bush's kind of... presidency, and it's 2008, so this would have come out as he was still in the president, right? So
I think at the risk of sounding like a broken record
Yeah.
and giving a very cliche answer, that genuinely is just your opinion.
So it's your opinion, man.
Because it's one of it's one of those things where it's like where it fails at the whole superhero thing, and it fails at the the providing the superhero and war torn countries and worlds, and being a war criminal shit and blending them together. It's like saying that it fails at that, but at the same time, all of us could watch this same film and be like, well, it doesn't fail at that because there's very clear examples of why it doesn't fail at that. I do think it's a very good superhero film. It's a good redemption story of a character who starts out as a douchebag and then ends up becoming
who's also a war criminal, technically.
Yeah, exactly. He's a war profiteer. He profits off war.
Yeah.
So
he becomes a victim of that, sees how bad it is. Yeah. And then kind of has this epiphany and being like, well, I need to use my wealth and kind of, genius to help me do good things. So he builds a suit of armor to escape and then realizes, holy shit, this is fucking cool. I'm going to keep doing this. Yeah. And he keeps making these awesome suits and
eventually he does stuff like, builds the arc reactor properly, powers Avengers Tower with it and stuff like that. Self-sustaining energy that's pretty he becomes a good guy. But this is the start of his journey. And I like it.
So sorry, you're wrong.
Sorry,
you're not a winner. Oh, this is a guy who loves words. I know you feel about very wordy kind of reviews. This one, ellipsis, suffers from an uneven and increasingly oppressive structure that ultimately negates the film's few positive attributes.
Read it again.
Ellipsis, because he has to start with an ellipsis apparently. Suffers from an uneven and increasingly oppressive structure that ultimately negates the film's few positive attributes.
I don't really know how to respond to that, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's just confused me, really.
It's confused you because...
I mean...
I just want to understand, what does he mean by oppressive structure?
I think
I want to know where he got that from.
I guess it kind of means... I kind of think that he's probably talking about the fact that the first act is a lot longer than the other two acts, I guess. So it is uneven.
Yeah, true, because as soon as he starts building...
And by starting it out off so long, you only give yourself a certain amount of time at the end of the film to wrap up everything else.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because if you think about it, you got the intro, which is him, it's like the first few minutes before he gets captured, and then it flips back and it's like, this is 36 hours beforehand, which lasts, about 25 minutes?
Yeah, and then there's all the stuff of him in the cave. It's 45 minutes by the time,
The film doesn't start until, I would say we're on the part where he's just received his first, what do they call it? This fucking centerpiece? Like the miniature arc reactor.
Yeah.
From Pepper and in the glass box, and this is an hour and 5 minutes into the film. Yeah. This should have been about 25 minutes ago.
Because I was going to say, when we went for our break, that was 45 minutes into the film, and he'd literally only just at that point decided that he wasn't going to be an arms dealer anymore.
Yeah.
That was the point when he had the press conference. 45 minutes in, it's like that's quite a long time.
I know this one's 2 hours, and this would probably make more sense if it was a bit longer, maybe 2.5 hours long, because it gives them that extra bit to kind of
to wrap up everything else.
It doesn't give Act 2 enough space to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay, this is ours. Actually,
Act 2 and 3, I guess.
Act 2 and 3 kind of mold into one. It's more like a 2-act film, really, isn't it? Like
They're
the first hour
congested.
and the last hour, he's just had his first kind of flight test in the is it the Mark II armor?
Yes, this is
the Mark II armor, which is the silver. Was it gold? Not the gold.
No, it's silver because then the Mark II froze when it got above a certain height.
Yeah, so that was just now, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he went for he goes for a gold alloy instead.
Yeah,
because gold, I'm assuming this gold alloy doesn't freeze up and doesn't ice up when he gets too high.
Yeah,
and then he realizes at this point. This is where he decides that, he's
going to look like C-3PO if you use all gold.
Yeah, all gold is a bit like...
wait, I can't do that. Disney owned that character.
A bit ridiculous. So he decides to put a bit of hot rod red in there,
Yeah, and this is like an hour into the film. And this is, okay, in a Hollywood standpoint, the whole 3-act structure and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is just... This kind of fucks with that. somehow manages to sneak past it. But like, yeah, I get what they're coming from now with this review. Does have kind of like a impressive structure, but
yeah, I get it. But at the same time,
I wouldn't say it negates from the film's few positive
Yeah.
attributes, because there's a lot more positive attributes to this film. Do you know what I mean?
I think it kind of works though, because you're kind of engrossed the whole time, you know.
Yeah. Should we do one more?
Yeah, well, let's go.
Oh, actually, this could be a thing. So Iron Man is really a 4-act play in a 3-act movie. Now, we just talked about the structure.
Yeah, I get that. I kind of get
How
that.
could you split this up into a 4-act play?
Well,
like, where's the kind of plot points for that? Because I only see 2, but there could be 4.
I'm trying to think because
and it makes sense in that way, because then you got the last. That's why it kind of like separates from like this.
If I had the story written out in front of me, I could just be like, well, this is the first act. This would be second act. This would be third act.
Well, there's 2-hour films, so it's half-hour each. So I mean, the last half hour really is the battle between Obadiah Stane and Iron Man.
Realistically, he needs to be doing the press conference where he decides he's not making weapons anymore. That needs to happen by the half-an-hour mark.
I think it does, mind.
No, it happened. It because I remember earlier we were watching it. It was
45.
45
Oh yeah, 45.
minutes. Yeah, it was about 45 minutes in.
I mean, give or take, you know that.
I mean, 50 minutes is a long time on screen. Like, it's quite a long time.
No, it's half hour. Half hours is 4
Well,
acts. They claim it's 4 acts.
But what I'm saying is, you know, is the extra 15 minutes.
On
top that they did for this film. If they made that first part half an hour long,
Yeah.
then it would probably be a bit better. But like, you know, it's all completely meaningless at this point, because when a film is this good, you can afford to break a few rules.
Yeah.
Like,
but I get what they mean. It is definitely, you know, along the lines of either being like two, like roughly, you know, if you were trying to figure out the structures, either like split in half completely.
Yeah, I get you.
Which is like pre-Iron Man, and then he's got the Mark II armor, and that's kind of his like build up to that, and that's split in half as soon as he has the fight with Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
But you could probably figure out if it's going to be, you know, split in quarters. It's most definitely not a 3-act structure.
But I think, like I said as well before, I remember saying this a couple of days ago. Actually, it was the reason why the earlier Marvel films kind of struggle a little bit, and some of them don't have, you know, as good ratings as the later ones, is because they have so much to set up. So in this film, true. It's like, because I think it's a weakness of a lot of superhero films, because you always have to have the origin story, but you also want to have something original in there as well. So the origin story always takes up, like, you know, the first part of the film, and then it makes the rest of the film very difficult to work around because you've got a lot less time.
Yeah, and you really need to set up these characters because there's so much kind of going on.
Exactly, which is why Spider-Man: Homecoming works so well, because you've already set up Peter Parker at that point.
Yeah,
they completely cut Uncle Ben out of the whole thing.
They do the same with Black Panther as well.
Yeah, they didn't bother with Uncle Ben and Spider-Man. You know, they kind of just went
Uncle Ben's.
but you know, he's still there, and he definitely existed, because they have, you know, little nods to him here and there.
Yeah, with a suitcase and stuff. Yeah.
So, but at the same time, because they don't have to explore that, they can just go straight into the story that they want to tell.
Yeah,
and not waste.
I mean,
time with
didn't Feige say that going forward, apart from Captain Marvel, there's not going to be any more solo origin stories?
Yeah,
and this was after Ant-Man was the last one said, and then Spider-Man wasn't, but Captain Marvel was. But
because but I think that's why, you know, people get tired of seeing the first Spider-Man film, or, you know, all of the Batman films, because all the Batman films have fucking origin stories. Yeah. How many times have we seen Bruce Wayne's parents die?
Oh, every single film.
You know what I mean?
Even
if it's literally every single
even in
time.
the film that he is not, it's not his film, we still see his parents.
Yeah, exactly. But
fucking
that's what I mean.
Joker. Oh, let's throw, like, it can't be a Batman-related film unless his parents die.
Exactly.
Like,
but like,
Jesus.
it's so irritating because it's just like it limits your ability to tell a story, because you have to put all of that preamble at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you have less time to work with, and I think that's the problem with a lot of superhero films, especially something like Iron Man. You know, it's a great film, and I think the other positive elements kind of you know, negate the whole idea that he had to have, you know, his origin story. Yeah. If you took away the origin story and just started with, you know,
him as Iron Man,
Yeah, with
just
him as
fucking
Iron Man.
just kind of going about his day. He's been Iron Man for 20 years.
Exactly. well, but see, even in the second film and the third. I mean, obviously, the second film and third film are probably not good examples because they get worse.
Yeah.
And this is the best film, but I think this is kind of a unique case at this point because, especially with stuff like Spider-Man, for example, as in the Sam Raimi ones.
Yeah.
The first one was pretty good.
This one's pretty good, yeah.
But the second one was sick. So you know what I mean? Like it's because they don't have to do the whole origin story thing. They can kind of just tell the story at their own pace.
Yeah.
It works. Which is why the later Marvel films work, because there's no more origin stories or telling everybody how.
Yeah, I mean, getting through
this
when you kind of do marathons, getting through Phase 1 is kind of a bit of a task, and Phase 2 a little bit as well.
Yeah,
because
Guardians. They're building it up a little bit. But as soon as they've built up the world,
yeah, you just kind of
can just tell the stories that you want to tell.
Yeah,
and it gets to things like Infinity War and Endgame, where it just pays off in a spectacular way because you have nothing else to talk. You can just tell the story.
Yeah,
and just go, well,
it's Barney's girlfriend.
You are?
Oh, it is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, fair enough.
Fair.
In fact, I think I've noticed that before. I completely forgot about that.
That's mental. As context, we've been watching How I Met Your Mother a lot.
Yeah.
Barney's girlfriend Nora.
What's her name? Nazanin something. I can't remember her name now. She's Iranian. Anyway, what I was saying is, if that's always going to be a limitation of the first film in a superhero.
And the villains usually
series.
aren't that great either in origin stories.
Yeah.
Apart from 4, but that's different.
But they kind of can't be though, can they? Not yet, because they're kind of they're building up to it.
Yeah.
When everybody fights Thanos, everybody's like in their primes, apart from like Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, if you get stuff like Winter Soldier works because the villain doesn't kind of die and like that's it. It's not like origin story, build it up. Oh, he works out his powers and whatever.
Yeah.
Something bad happens. Oh no, he has to learn to be stronger and then fight the villain one more time, defeat the villain, and then next one it's like the same thing again.
Yeah. But you can never really start off with the most powerful villain.
They really knew how to like tell the same story in different ways without it being kind of like, I mean, Phase 1 was the same kind of structure. Every single film was, apart from my Incredible Hulk, which they decided. Yeah. Thank God that wasn't an origin story. But Incredible Hulk can get away with it really, really well. They did just do it in like a montage in the opening credit sequence, which is way too long. Iron Man's fine, but imagine if every single film had the same kind of thing with Iron Man does. It's got that simplistic kind of origin story for a superhero.
Well, it definitely holds stories back, and I think that's why they started adding characters in other films and introducing them in. Say Black Widow got introduced in Iron Man 2, and she doesn't really, she has her origin there, so that when you see her later on, you don't have to think who the hell's this, and then we get the whole origin story. That's why I think maybe the Black Widow film.
But by the time you get to the Avengers, it's like, oh, I know all these.
I know all these people exactly. I think
Phil Coulson, Sam Jackson. They just get introduced to Maria Hill, and like that's it, really. Loki, everyone involved.
It's strange as well, because usually with those kind of things, you have to kind of know what was happening to really appreciate the film.
Yeah.
Whereas I know people who've gone to go see the Avengers, or they've gone to go and see,
it's like going to see Endgame and not seeing any of the films.
But some people have done that, but they still love it. They still like it because it's just told in such a perfect way.
I think that's probably the kind of like the problems with like the later films. Like if I had to have one, like with like Endgame and Infinity War and all the Avengers films, is that they try to work on their own as well. And I think that they try so hard to kind of like, oh, you could watch Endgame really without watching the other films. You won't get most of the stuff.
It's its own self-contained story. Basically, they struggled with trying to do that.
Yeah. They didn't want to make it just a sequel, and I think that it should have just stayed as just a sequel. Like,
it doesn't need to lead up to anything. Or
they don't because they explain. It felt like they were kind of just explaining who these characters were, and you're like, well, I mean, just watch the films. Like that's it.
Yeah, literally. Just
so
watch
they spend up time just kind of like, when you're watching a TV show, usually stuff like the CW and all this like last week on blah blah blah, or like The Walking Dead and stuff, and you're watching recaps and
the
stuff.
CW, the Arrowverse.
Arrowverse do it really
the Arrowverse, I feel like, is a bad example because I really hate I hated watching The Flash, and then it came to an episode where it was a crossover, and I had no idea what was happening. Like, oh, what's happened? We can't hear anything. Oh, it's the controller.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so we're saying.
So the Arrowverse, I think the Arrowverse is a bad example for me because the crossover episodes are really annoying.
Well, most of the structure is annoying now. Have you seen? There's like a list online, and they update it, and
it's how you should watch it.
I think they figured out a way of doing it now because obviously each like a series kind of airs on a different day of the week. So it's meant to watch in that order. But then they're kind of just like forcing you to watch every other show, and maybe you're only a fan of Arrow.
Yeah.
And to get the crossovers,
it's too interconnected.
It's too interconnected.
It's way too interconnected.
It's too many episodes as well.
It's a really good idea to make people watch it, isn't it?
It is,
but
like,
at the same time,
like,
some people.
Well, if you really like this person, you'll invest more time.
No,
but hypothetically, right now, right, there is over 1,000 episodes for you to indulge in, which amazingly is great, especially in this kind of like.
Don't get me wrong. I like a lot of DC. I like a lot of DC stuff. DC, I like more than Marvel, just purely because it's what I grew up with. I was a massive Batman fucking nerd when I was younger.
Yeah.
But stuff like, I would want to watch The Flash because I think The Flash is a cool superhero.
Yeah.
And The Flash is something that I would watch. I don't care about his stories with Supergirl. I don't care about his stories with Green Arrow. I just don't. Like, it needs to be its own self-contained thing because that's how it was in the comics. You don't need to have everybody...
If they're going to do it, I think it needs to be... Like, they would have to do the kind of context that you need other than, like, the Marvel ones where, like, they have to kind of give you kind of, okay, this has happened in Arrow, so, like, you know what's going to happen. Like, you basically have a gist of why he's in this episode, but they force you to... No,
to be fair, it's like
the
Marvel series on Netflix as well. Because like I was watching Luke Cage, and like then I got to the second series or third series, I don't fucking remember. But then Iron Fist was there, and they were like best bros. And I was
because the Defenders, yeah. They started doing it, but like
but like I didn't like Iron Fist or
Daredevil. You know Daredevil?
No,
I thought Daredevil was incredible.
Yeah. Oh, I love the Punisher.
Daredevil is my favorite character of all time anyway, but
it's difficult. I think my issue is that they'll have like you'll get engrossed in something on CW. Like I watch The Flash. I'll get engrossed in the story of The Flash. And what's happening on the because it's a CW show. There's lots of talking. There's lots of
it's
relationships
all
and stuff
teen
like that.
drama.
Exactly, it's a teen
One Tree
drama.
Hill type of thing, isn't it?
But they have a set out story that you get so involved in. Then all of a sudden, there's an episode that comes out of nowhere and it has nothing to do with the story in The Flash, and it's all to do with the story in some other TV show. And you're just like,
think about it now. Would you? I mean, even if you were interested in watching all the TV shows, think of how many episodes exist. Would you want to even start that? No,
it's too much
so
effort.
many.
It's way too much effort.
There is way too much effort. Yeah, there's like way too many characters in that kind of universe now. Like,
it's ridiculous.
I don't think it works for me. But
it's making everything a soap opera.
Yeah,
but I think a good way to do it is how the animated films would have done it.
Yeah.
Oh no, not the animated films. Sorry, the animated TV shows. But stuff like Batman. Batman is his own thing. Superman has his own TV show. But there's also a Justice League TV show that they're both in. Yeah. And, if you wanted to watch all of the stories that, include all of them, you'd watch the Justice League TV show.
Yeah.
You wouldn't watch Batman to go and see Superman. Like,
No, that's true.
So it's... For me, that's how they should do it, really, in the CW shows. I mean, people probably disagree with me, but,
Well, most of them are going to finish now, aren't they? So it's
exactly.
I think the Arrow's finishing this year now.
I stopped watching Flash.
Yeah, it's on like 6 seasons or 7 seasons now, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't remember even where I stopped watching. I think it was the end of season 3.
Oh, all right, I'm going to end this episode on one thing. I want to ask, if you were an Avenger, which one would you be? And that's including anyone from like any of the films, like, from all 23 films. Like, if you like, it's kind of one of those things where if you could fly or like teleport or whatever, like which Avenger would you? What kind of like powers do you like?
I'm gonna let Anson go first on that question.
To be honest, the only thing I can really think of is Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange would be kind of cool.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, badass.
I mean, if you've got the
feel
Eye of
like-
Agamotto and you can like, you know, you've got the whole time thing to work with.
Yeah, I was gonna say because he's pretty cute. I'm pretty cute. I think we'd work. So,
Fair play. I
Well-
think for me, should be Ant-Man, really, wouldn't it?
Man.
Ant-Man.
I'd love to be able to go small.
oh
Going
my
small would be
God,
cool.
So you can
that'd be
squeeze in
crap.
Thanos'
I'd
booty
beat
hole.
you.
If I no, you wouldn't. No, you. In fact, yeah, you would. I've just realised you said you were not straight. Never mind.
I'd probably go for Thor.
Thor.
Yeah, actually. You know, he's,
Oh,
you know, I was gonna say Vision because he can like fly and he can like you know, kind of go through walls and stuff. But Vision just doesn't do it for me anymore. He's
No,
so
I
boring.
can see it. Thor.
But Thor, I could, you know.
Thor's pretty cute. You're pretty cute. I reckon.
yeah,
you could
you
be
get
Thor.
along. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you see, yeah. I was talking about Natalie Portman as Thor.
Yeah.
Boom, done. No, so Thor. Yeah, we got Thor. We got Doctor Strange and Ant-Man. What a fucking group! What a trio.
I'm telling you what, though, if I was Ant-Man,
That is actually the most. That's actually the best because all three of them are actually the only ones who've kind of been to other kind of realms.
yeah, that's
Of
pretty
all the
cool.
characters, they're the three that are kind of more interlocked than ever now.
Yeah, that's
They're
pretty
probably
cool.
going to be the new trio.
the
for
new
MCU.
big trio. Yeah,
You know, the Hulk is probably going to take a bit, and you're probably not going to see Mark Ruffalo for a few years in a Marvel film. Like I got a long.
I can
time.
imagine.
If he does appear, he
But hey,
probably
listen,
he might appear in Doctor Strange.
if I was Ant-Man, I would be deadly. I would have killed Thanos in Infinity War if I was Ant-Man.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, I would have crawled up his anus and
Well,
expanded.
for starters, he
I would have
wasn't. He
exploded.
wasn't in Infinity War, so
Yeah, but see, I would have just, I wouldn't have
House
cared
arrest,
about all
bro.
that stuff that he had, and you know, fuck a house arrest. We can deal with that later. You know, if there's some baddies to kill. You know,
yeah. What's her name from Ant-Man and the Wasp? Ghost.
Yeah, she's small time.
And Walton
She's
Goggins.
small time. Well, yeah.
But anyway, with that, we'll end this episode here. It's been good.
Yeah,
All the Marvel. We're gonna carry on with the marathon.
yeah, our
Marathon.
marathon. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's been a long week. Yeah, so thank you for listening to the Conversationalist podcast. I've been Charlie Pitson.
I've been Joshy Boy.
I've been Anson.
Yeah. I love when Anson comes on. It's great.
Yeah, I said about 10 things. at
Yeah.
most.
You're like Cannibal Buress and Tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another episode. Go back and watch that one. Listen to that one. I mean, yeah, just go do it. Yeah,
Did I
check.
fall asleep?
You probably did. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Fuck.